What's going on, YouTube, and welcome back into the Hollywood Rip studio for this week's episode of Hot in the Hobby, the show where we go over what cards are hot and driving markets forward over the past week. And because baseball is coming in just a week, a little over a week.
When they watch this, it'll be like a couple days.
Yeah, exactly. In just a few days' time, it is all baseball this week, driving markets forward. Thanks for joining us. I'm Mr. Hollywood. This is Joe Nasty to my right, and let's start things off this week with Jackson Holliday, the shortstop for the Baltimore Orioles, second baseman.
Middle infielder.
Middle infielder for the Baltimore Orioles. His 2024 Topps Now MLB debut rookie card in a PSA 10, which had a print run of 43,847, is up 167% over the past week to $36 per card. This was a $13, $14 card last week. Of course, Holliday has been in the news recently. His MLB debut patch closed at $198,000 on Fanatics Collect. So far in the spring, Holliday's hitting .304 with 1 homer, 3 RBIs, 5 steals, and an .808 OPS. A little more like what people thought they would see from Jackson Holliday in the majors.
Sure.
But so far in the majors, it has been 189 for Jackson Holliday. 5 home runs, 23 RBIs, 4 stolen bases. A 566 OPS over...
That's not great.
No, over just 190 at-bats. And look, there's no doubt that Holliday is a great hitter. He has shown it in the minors. He's only 21. He raked in the minors. A very professional hitter in the minors. Did not chase a whole lot in the minors. Made a lot of good contact. And the numbers are so astronomically different for him from MLB to minor leagues that it suggests to me, at least, that it's more of a confidence issue or a being uncomfortable with like the hype issue than it is a skill issue.
Yeah.
I think he'll settle into being a great major leaguer. The question becomes though, like MVP type, I'm not so sure. I like the speed. But he's still not there in terms of power. Could easily see him batting 300 in the majors, right?
Yeah.
And I like the bats around him. We like Gunnar Henderson, right? And we like some of the younger bats in that lineup as well, aside from Henderson and Adley Rutschman, right? You gotta like Colton Cowser, and they got Kobe Mayo coming, and they still have Kierstad getting better, presumably. Every year. They have experience on that team with Cedric Mullins. I'm not a fan of the pitching staff, to be honest.
I think that's their biggest issue.
But Jackson Holliday, hot this week. What do you think?
Well, Gunner's hurt at the moment, or he's at least going to start on the 10-day.
He is.
As you posted yesterday. So that makes it easier for Jackson to at least make the opening day roster. Probably was going to make it anyways, but now it's probably a sure thing.
Right.
Look, he hit 15 home runs between his 2 stops. So to me, if you put him in one place, let him get comfortable, I think 20 home runs is
reasonable.
Certainly feasible, reasonable.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when you consider his pedigree and the strength he has, especially for such a young man. And we know his dad was one of the strongest guys that you'll ever see in MLB.
Right, and Jackson is yoked.
That's what I'm saying. Like, Jackson is built. For being 21.
He put on a good, looks like 20 pounds of muscle this offseason.
So I think, and you said it briefly as well, I think for the Orioles, their biggest issue, much like their number 1 competitors in the East, the Yankees, is on the mound. You lose Corbin Burns, Grayson Rodriguez is hurt already, and then you're depending on Adley to bounce back after a really disappointing second half. And I think losing Santander, I like the lineup as well.
Yeah, that was a big loss.
Losing Santander, not only losing him, but to a division rival,
especially,
I think that's big.
Especially losing him to a division rival for, let's be honest, in this market, not a lot of money.
For a switch-hitting power hitter?
No.
Yeah, I agree.
So if that doesn't tell you, and this is where I kind of pump the brakes on players that play for the Orioles sometimes or the Mariners, right?
Yeah.
I could very well argue that the Orioles were $200-300 million away from being real contenders, right? Re-sign Corbin Burns for $200 million. Go out and sign a Max Fried for $150 million or $200 million, right? Then, in my opinion, then I think the Orioles might be the best team in the American League. And I feel kind of the same way with the Mariners, because the Mariners have probably the best pitching staff in baseball. Behind, maybe you could argue the Dodgers are better as a pitching staff, but bottom line is you can argue that the Mariners pitching staff is every bit as good as the Dodgers. And I know the Dodgers is crazy, but I'm telling you, the Mariners have four sub-3 ERA young pitching studs.
And the fifth is Luis Castillo.
Yeah, exactly. And they have, obviously they have Julio Rodriguez. The Mariners, if they had gotten Santander,
yes,
or Pete Alonso, yes, right? Go out and get Santander and Pete Alonso. I think the Mariners could have been the best team in the AL.
Certainly in that division.
Yeah, in that division for sure, especially with Kyle Tucker leaving the Astros. But none of that happened because the Mariners and the Orioles don't want to spend money. So from that perspective, I'd probably be out on someone like Jackson Holliday just because I don't think the organization is committed to winning, even if he is, right?
The O's are World Series or bust this year. I don't think there's any doubt. They're in the tier below the Dodgers. They're a World Series contending team. Did they put as much effort into it as possible?
No.
No, they did not. They have more question marks.
They also don't have to because they're in the AL.
True, but they are in the toughest division in the AL.
That is true.
So
I'm telling you, look out for the Rangers in the AL this year. But moving on to hot card number 2 for this week, and that is Aaron Judge. Of course, the outfielder for the New York Yankees. He's been moved out of center field. He is going to right field, I think.
Presumably.
I think he's going to right.
I think they put Jason Dominguez in left.
Something like that, with Bellinger coming into center.
Yeah.
But his 2013 Bowman Draft Picks PSA 10, which has a pop count of 5,395, is up 64.6% over the past week to $253 per card. That was a $155 card last week. Spring training has been awful for Aaron Judge. He's hitting 138 with 1 home run, 5 RBIs, and a 554 OPS. That is a shadow of his 1.159 OPS last year while winning his second AL MVP with 58 home runs, hitting 322, driving in 144 RBIs.
Pretty good year.
Yeah, pretty solid. I know he just hit his first spring training home run literally the other day. But why exactly we're up 65% on this, I'm not 100% sure. The Yankees lost Juan Soto to the Mets. Garrett Cole is out for the season with Tommy John. Luis Gil is out as well. They replaced that with Cody Bellinger, Devin Williams, and Paul Goldschmidt. Aaron Judge is going to need to hit 60 homers probably to give this team a chance to make the playoffs with how anemic this pitching staff is going to look starting the season.
Yeah.
Right? And even if Aaron Judge does hit 60 homers, we've essentially seen that twice in the last 2 or 3 years, right? And we saw his cards blip up 20%, 30%, some of them maybe 40, 50%, but then they just drop right back down to where they are kind of always. Aaron Judge he doesn't have age on his side, right? He's 32.
Wow.
He does not have the flashy all-around, meaning speed. He doesn't have speed. Collectors value 2 things, right? They value youth.
Doesn't have it.
And they value, unless you're hitting, again, 60 homers, which Aaron Judge does, but the market has proven that hitting 60 home runs is not enough to carry long-term, sustained value increase.
Sure.
What's the other thing they value is power-speed combo.
Mm-hmm.
All the other big cards, power-speed combo. So I really think the only things that can send Judge cards to their all-time highs are if he hits 70 homers or if he wins a World Series MVP and the Yankees actually win it. But short of that, I don't see Aaron Judge as a buy at all unless it's for PC, personal collection.
Right. I do like the Devin Williams trade. I think that was a pretty massive
upgrade
for them.
That was.
But yeah, I think...
But they also lost Clay Holmes in the process.
100%. So. I don't think their roster as it stands now is better than a couple months ago.
No.
And I agree with you, though. The only way that Judge's value bumps up is what's going to happen 7 months from now. Mm-hmm. Barring a disaster, and I don't care about the spring training, he started slow last year and had an unbelievable year.
Right, exactly.
He's going to have a really good offensive season. But his entire value is going to be based on what happens in a couple months. And is it fair? Probably not, because he's an all-time player. He's an all-time slugger.
Right, he is.
But the drop fly ball doesn't hurt, and that comes with. Or sorry, it does hurt. It doesn't.
It did hurt.
And look, he's the most prominent Yankee right now, and he is a larger-than-life, literal figure.
Yes.
And I think we've talked about this before. Like, what's the deal with Aaron Judge cards? He's boring.
Yeah, he's not marketable. He's just not marketable.
He hits bombs, and that's it.
And think about, he had a crazy season last year, but think about, the two players that sandwiched him in that lineup are no longer going to be there.
So he hasn't had Juan Soto except for last year, and he's been very good.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But he lost Soto, and Stanton is hurt already.
Right. Yes.
So you're really relying a lot on Jazz Chisholm and Cody Bellinger.
It's true.
And Paul Goldschmidt to come back from the dead as like a 39-year-old or whatever.
I think Judge will hit the ball well, and like his probably fringe analytics will look really good.
Yeah.
He just may not have, say, RBI opportunities.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I think
a lot of solo shots.
Potentially.
But moving on to hot card number 3 this week, and it is Jackson Chourio, the outfielder for the Milwaukee Brewers. His 2024 Topps Chrome base rookie card in the PSA 10 and a PSA 9. We're going to look at those two. The PSA 10 is up 45.8%, and the PSA 9 is up 146% over the past week to $45 and $16 respectively. Why is it up? Because Jackson Chourio hit .477 over spring training with 7 RBIs, 6 stolen bases, and a 1.170 OPS. His true rookie year, 2024 last year, 275, 21 homers, 71 RBIs, 22 stolen bases, a 791 OPS. I really, really like Jackson Chourio.
He's very good.
He raked in the minors. He's only 21. And in a true rookie year to go 2020 and hit 275 plus in this day and age, when no one hits 275 plus.
In this economy?
And an OPS around 800, follows it up with a spring training like this, hitting nearly 500. I mean, the Brewers are a winning organization as well.
They are.
Right?
They're hardcore.
They're like sneaky good every year.
Every year. They just end up winning the division. You're like, oh yeah, they did.
And just look, talk about 30-30 threats. Shohei Ohtani, Bobby Witt Jr., Ellie De La Cruz, Gunnar Henderson, Corbin Carroll, Jose Ramirez, Ronald Acuna Jr., maybe a Wyatt Langford, right?
We'll get to it.
Maybe. But Jackson Chourio, 30-30. It's possible, I'm telling you. And that's not a big list of people.
No.
Good outfield range, 97th percentile sprint speed. The guy has everything you look for in a young player. Youth, power, speed, winning team, decent average. Jackson Chourio, I think, is one of the major boom candidates for 2025. And I think it could be. This kid could really be something special, like one of the top 5 players in baseball type of special.
He's got the physical ability, and this will continue on our overarching theme of recent episodes of how do certain organizations react to players on their roster. Milwaukee is as shrewd and as good as anyone in the industry at recognizing talent. And look, could they spend some more money? Obviously, they're a bit.
But they do spend more than
at times.
A lot
but
of teams.
They'll pinch their pennies and they'll work around the margins. And Willie
will.
Adames was ready to head into his walk year, so they traded him.
Yep.
But if there's an organization that said we can trade Willie Adames because we know what we have on our roster already, we know this young talent that we have that we can pair with Christian Yelich, that says as much to me as anything other than them not wanting to work around these contracts and these veterans.
Exactly. Take a hint, Angels.
Angels could take a lot of hints on roster construction.
Not even hints.
Yeah. Maybe like a full seminar.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Chourio's good.
Yeah, he's unbelievable.
Well, they also have the best catcher on their team.
They do.
Sorry, the best catcher in baseball is on their team.
That is true.
Yeah.
But we got to keep moving to our next hot card of the week, and that is Paul Skenes. He was on our hot cards last week. He's on our hot cards this week again. His 2023 Bowman Draft Chrome First Prospect card in a PSA 9 was up 56.8% over the past week to $35. It was a $22 card last week. Of course, unless you live under a rock, You heard that his debut patch sold for $1.1 million to Dick's Sporting Goods. Paul Skenes went 11-3, 1.96 ERA with a .95 WHIP, struck out 170 batters. Of course, he was the NL Rookie of the Year. In spring training, he went 2-0 with a 3 ERA, a high WHIP, 1.7, but it's spring training.
It's Arizona too.
And look, we get it. Paul
they're in
Skenes,
Florida.
we get it. Paul Skenes is sexy. His stuff is sexy. The velo is sexy. The movement is sexy. The stash is sexy.
Very.
The girlfriend is sexy.
I guess.
What's not sexy about Paul Skenes
His elbow.
is gonna be the elbow.
And his baby yak.
Eventually, right? Like, eventually. But I actually think while Paul Skenes cards are going crazy, there aren't many superstar athletes or famous couples, right? Like this, that have signed cards together. And personally, instead of investing in Paul Skenes right now at an all-time high and investing in Paul Skenes' elbow, I would rather invest in a Paul Skenes Livy Dunn dual autograph card. We happen to have one right here.
A dual. You would invest in that one?
This is a one of one.
Let me see that. She seems nice.
We'll show it to the camera. This is a one of one Livy Dunn, Paul Skenes
Olivia
dual
Dunn.
autograph. I don't know. There's not a whole lot. It's pretty rarefied air.
I think there's one more step we can go. We can take this to the moon with for those two.
Yeah, what is that?
We're talking about logo. This week we've been talking about logo mans and inserts and stuff like that. Paul Skenes logo man signed along with Livy Dunn Vuori patch. Insert.
Yeah, that's next level.
That's next level.
That's next level. If anyone's listening to this, yeah, that's the way to do it. Get a Skenes, not from any specific game or event, logo man, and get a Livy Dunn, not from any specific game or
Which
event.
campaign is it from?
Vuori patch.
Fall 23.
Yeah, exactly. But moving on to our last hot card of the week, and that's Wyatt Langford, the outfielder for the Texas Rangers. His 2023 Bowman Draft Chrome First Prospect card in a PSA 10 is up 89.3% over the past week to $65 per card, because in spring training, Wyatt Langford is hitting .462 with 1 home run, 6 RBIs, and a 1.21 OPS, a 1200 OPS. 2024, Langford went 253, 16 homers, 74 RBIs, and 19 steals. I think Wyatt Langford's in for a big 2025. He was insane, in his last month of the season last year. He hit 300, 8 homers, 20 RBIs, and 7 steals. His OPS was 1,000 in the last month of the season. That is elite. There is a reason he was the number 2 overall pick in the number 2, right?
I thought 4, but I'll check.
4? Maybe 4. Yeah, you're right, because Cruz was 2.
4.
4. There's a reason he was a top 5 pick in the MLB, and I expect the Rangers to be much healthier this year, hopefully, with the return of DeGrom. Josh Young is coming back.
Yeah.
Obviously, you still have Marcus Semien, Corey Seager, Adolis Garcia are there.
Yep.
All quality players to go along with Wyatt Langford. I really think Wyatt Langford could be a great buy in terms of potential this year. This card obviously not one of his bigger ones, but it's a good starting point. I don't remember a time when there was more young, exciting talent coming up at the same time. I mean, talk about, Wyatt Langford and Ellie De La Cruz and Bobby Witt Jr. and Paul Skenes and Corbin Carroll and Rushman and Henderson and, like Chourio. Like, we can go on and on and on.
Yeah.
Baseball is in an amazing position right now.
Sasaki.
To capitalize on young stars. Wyatt Langford's one of them.
The next generation is here. And so if I've said it once, I've said it probably like 13 times. We have to see if this last month of at the end of what ended up being an irrelevant season for the Rangers,
right,
is that sustainable? The kid had a rapid ascent from being drafted
Crazy.
4th overall in just 2 years. He was drafted 4th overall in 2023 to making the opening day roster for the Rangers last year. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. The numbers aren't otherworldly, but again, he was 20.
Yeah.
Or whatever, he was low 20s. And he went from basically being a college right up to the big league roster and hitting inside the park homers and cycles and this, that, whatever.
And this isn't like the Marlins brought Wyatt Langford up.
Sure,
right?
He is surrounded by consummate pros.
Or the Pirates brought Wyatt Langford up in the first. Like, this is a team. The Texas Rangers brought Wyatt Langford up to hit in this lineup as the reigning World Series champions.
That's true. That's a good point. And we saw what it did to Evan Carter.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not going to say that the Rangers don't know what they're doing, right? They know what they're doing. They know how to build a team, clearly. And they put this much trust into this young kid. I think Wyatt Langford could be in for a big year, but that'll wrap things up.
Just got to sustain it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Got to sustain it. But that'll wrap things up for this week's episode of Hot in the Hobby. Hope you enjoyed this week's episode. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel down below and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next one. Speaking of which, the next one is probably our favorite episode for all of you guys. That'll be the Cardboard Critics. It is our Invest in These Cards Now 4 cards of the week. So until then, I'm Mr. Hollywood. That's Joe Nasty. We'll see you tomorrow. Mr. Hollywood, Joe Nasty, out.